Welcome back to Speak Up Africa. We continue to bring you conversations that inform, engage, and empower. And a pertinent part of these conversations is the youth, the young people of this nation. Truly, we are the leaders of today. But there seems to be gaps as to how we are taking up spaces and how we are engaging in processes. And there's a big gap in, are we really even interested in taking up those spaces? In the series and episode today, I have a good friend of mine. We have done mentorship together, and we're very passionate about young people. And today, we just want to unpack, how do we move forward with the young people? Are they actually even interested? Wesley, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Wendy. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Mhm.
This is Speak Up Africa. Introduce yourself and we take it away.
All right, my name is Wesley Abuor. I'm an engineer by profession in the field of technology. I'm also a mentor. I run a mentorship program called Mentor Me Global. We've been headquartered in Mount Kenya University for the longest. That's the center of operation. But we do different activities out and about Mount Kenya University. Yeah, and We've had you in our program a couple of times, and you've been brilliant. In fact, over and over calls to bring you back and bring you back and bring you back. But it's well, it's well. Thank you for having me today.
Fantastic. And today we bring the conversation to this podcast. And even before the cameras were rolling, I was asking questions,
Yeah.
Wesley. You know, we operate in a space where we mentor and steer young people to the facet of life that's connected to leadership. How does good preparation for a young leader in this country today look like?
Good preparation begins early. One thing about the field I've been in for a minute is I deal with young people a lot. I'm also a young person. So I'm not that old. Yeah, so for the longest, I've seen the problem is not the problem begins early, way early, from how we were brought up, from the education systems we've had, from what we've been seeing happening to this point where now this conversation is we are starting to draw a clear chasm where the problem is. So you'll see that the problem begins. My perspective, I see it begins with how our education system is routed. Our education system doesn't churn out leaders. It's not. I sat down one day with my team. We were discussing on how we are going to run our program. We usually have these meetings we have. So I asked them a question. Um, hmm, in all everything we've covered as a mentorship program, has any of them ever been taught to you in schools? And you can
I
guess
can
the
guess
answer.
the answer.
You can
I
guess
can
the
guess the
answer.
answer.
So we began to see young people are really hungry. Young people are hungry, but these things were not provided for while they were young. It was not cultivated into their system. They're coming to see it right now. I did a parallelism with Western systems of education and ours, and you see how they are nurtured and how we are nurtured. Then we come to see that we bring the topic of unemployability or the quality of leaders we are churning out in our systems, and you see the difference.
Yeah.
So our problem begins with how we are nurtured.
So it starts from way back.
It starts from way back, from our roots, from even our parenting. Funny enough, how we were parented. Children are in the African setup. Children are meant to be seen, not to be heard.
Exactly.
So from that point, they don't know that that's how you cultivate leaders, because you start muting them from when they are young. So muting a child who actually okay, muting a child from that age and expecting him to grow up to speak up. It will
It's
take a certain
problematic.
revolution in between, maybe
Yes.
a different force to make them. That's why we saw something like the Gen Z revolution that came up. So to answer your question, it begins early,
Okay.
from our childhood to education. Yeah.
Okay. And fundamentally, you take part in that pivotal point of change, because we deal a lot with young people, especially at campus level. And you know, in campus, that's when you sort of now start making individual decisions, because as you're saying, your child systems have been put in place for you. So campus is the place where people start having self discovery. And we'll dwell a lot on that. But allow me to now take you to, for example, the Gen Z revolution that we had, the uprising of the young people. And the fire sort of died down, right? Do we think young people are setting out to be their leaders in their own spaces, or we are being co-opted to systems that were there? Even politically, as you look at the geopolitical space, are young people in Kenya, Africa, East Africa, right, coming up to be individual leaders who are bringing change, or we are being co-opted into the system?
Wendy, that's a pretty hard conversation to have. Talking about our geopolitical systems and how we are positioned as young people. Our Gen Z movement, this is my perspective of what happened. We came with a desire to see change. The problem of muting a child from when they were young is that they will speak when they feel overwhelmed. So that's what happened. That's one result of our upbringing. So you'll only speak when you're outbursting because you're not nurtured to have a conversation, and the parents don't want to hear anything. That's why when this revolution came up, they said, in our local, they said, "How not to adogo." Like they are still children, we are being looked down on,
Yeah.
or this is it will end because they're just, you get it.
Wacha walie
Yeah,
itaisha.
itaisha. So it began there where people had felt the weight of bad leadership because they were not taking part in the process. The true cry of the Gen Z revolution was to be part of the process, to have a seat on the table, to be part of the people who are geared towards forming rules and regulations and policies that will also govern them. So they want to have a say on what is theirs. And after the overwhelming fact of seeing how the leadership was not giving an ear to their cry, they had to revolt. We had to revolt. In fact, let's say we were part of that. We had to revolt.
Yeah.
So we had to revolt because of what was happening. Now the problem is we don't have structures for it. When you outburst, it will end at an outburst. It only takes time for you to outburst, then you the outburst was good, but there was no structures to keep what we were speaking, our message. We did not clearly state what our message was and did not form structures. So what will happen is the ongoing political swarm or the political leaders that will take that to their advantage, as what we are seeing now. You won't see any new Gen Z rooting up their head to say I want to take responsibility of this movement and I want to air out what we want. We'll see the same heads we've been seeing in the political scene as we're seeing now. We will come and say tunataka to give voice to the young people. You get it?
Yeah.
Sauti ya vijana.
Yeah.
So our outburst and our outcry was as if lives were lost for nothing because it's the same people on the same field who will sit on the same seats,
But
do the same things.
who do we blame then, Wesley? Because you and I were part of it, and it disturbs me. And how things have shifted begs the question: did we accomplish what we had set out to?
Okay.
And if not, right, what next? In the morning, I was having a conversation with my boss, and I hope he will watch this episode. And I asked him, so what does the future look like? Because are we foreseeing another uprising where people will say enough is enough? Because that was a momentous, revolutionary kind of thing that we said we are tired. But does it mean people got the burden was lifted off of us? I don't think so. What do you think?
Okay. My thoughts are this. The purpose of the revolution was to reject the finance bill. Correct. Finally, it was rejected after. Did we have to occupy parliament for them to just do what we wanted them to do?
No.
Our key leaders, I remember there was something they called when we started pointing out key leaders who took part in the making of this finance bill. Once we revolted, I remember they came out saying we're sorry. Some made
Salimia
videos.
leader, Salimia leader.
In fact, that was the statement to our Salimia.
Exactly.
And I remember we took a very firm action, and for once in our society, I saw leaders listening.
They were scared.
They were scared. It was unimaginable that young people could occupy parliament. In fact, it was first heard here Then after that, I had now different nations taking part of that revolt.
Exactly.
Began in Kenya. So the main purpose of that thing was accomplished. Yes, we wanted the finance bill to be taken down, but did we lose life just for finance bill? The main cry, the foundational cry, was good governance. Us having a seat on the table, us taking part in to make the laws that governs the same as who make the larger part of the population. You get it? So I think it was met in part, and I think the major part of it was not met because we after losing the lives we lost, and condolences to the families that lost lives.
Yeah.
After losing all those lives, we still come back to the same scenario. Like we just came back to sit down and everything was normal because one bill was rejected.
Yeah. And I like that perspective because I think the finance bill was our toppling point.
Yeah.
That is what now pushed us to the wall. But the grand picture was bad governance. And we got to a place where we said, Safisha wote. We just want a clean slate. Can they all go? And I don't think that part of the revolution was met. Something fundamental you have raised, that we wanted to be part of the processes, we wanted to be involved. And the reason why we're having this conversation with you today is there's a gap, there's a mismatch. Is it that young people are just not interested? We are very good at making noise at the street level, but now when it comes to being part of processes, we sort of tend to be ignorant, right?
Yeah.
Because in my own spaces of operations, I have young people who I ask, do you have a voter's card? No. Are you aware of what is happening? All right. Because we cannot occupy spaces that we don't have a clue about. And politics works like that. You cannot beat a system that you have no idea and clue about. So let me not charm my thoughts so much. I want to throw it to you. Are we interested, Wesley, in even being part of those processes? Or are we just saying it verbally and it sounds really good because there's a gap in what we say we want and our intention of being part of the processes that we want?
Yeah, I see there's a gap. If we are ready, that's a good question because personally, I see the hunger in individuals. I see a lot of there's a difference between seeing hunger, seeing potential in a person, and them acting out the potential. One of the problem we have with our system is it suppresses the voices that must be. It's hard, Wendy, to say that I want to do something. I feel this fire. I have genuine fire. I remember we were having a talk before this podcast and saying, if you truly have hunger to take part in politics, you've seen what happens in our political fields. You've said you have the integrity it takes to enter and you really truly want to see change. But by the point you enter the same field, do you think you still have the same integrity?
The systems are changing the individuals.
Exactly. So that's what you're saying. Another thing is it will take more than just the desire to. It will take more than the ability to. It will take a whole revolutionizing of the system altogether. Young people managed to do that on the Gen Z
Movement,
revolution.
yeah.
They managed to do that. The second process of that revolution was a dialogue to give them a seat. Another thing we lack as young people is structure. We truly lack structure because we did all that. Yes, we are a mass movement, a headless movement. We called ourselves. We have no
Leaderless,
leaders.
fearless,
Leaderless movement.
tribeless.
We spoke all that, but we didn't recognize the fact we cannot all be on that table. There must be a leader.
Representation.
There must be representation. That's where the whole bedrock of governance takes place, in representation. That's why we elect MPs, we elect the president to represent us. So we must have genuine leaders who people must agree these are the leaders who we think can air out our opinion. And if not, you take them down. You have that ability to put and to replace. So I think there's need for structure to the young people. Otherwise, the systems that be, the current political movements, the current political people, the politicians who we see, will take advantage of that movement altogether to spearhead their agendas, as we will see. So the question is, the thing is, I know young people are able. I know they have the ability to, and who knows? Let's wait for 2027 because I'm certain that fire is still simmering in the hearts of people because they still want to see change. They still want to see change. So I think we won't have right now, we won't have to have another toppling, but if need be, there will be another revolution to speak out, to air out, to put into place.
What is the ground saying? Do you think there's a potential for another uprising?
Right now things are simmered down. Right now there's a whole different wind blowing, as you've seen. If you've been seeing the news lately, there's a whole different wind blowing in the political arena. I've not seen any young people. I see young people behind the same political leaders we've been having.
And rallying behind them.
Yeah, rallying behind them.
And truly, that's sad. It's a sad picture
Yeah,
to paint.
and I'm wondering, if you rally behind the leaders that be, are you certain they will represent you the way you want to? If so, you put them into office, make sure they do what you guys want. If not, look for a leader, or may a leader arise and say they have the integrity enough to represent the cries of the young, because the young people are the future of the nation. And let them say that every desire in the hearts of every young people be seen in display in their governance.
Wesley, 2027 is coming. When I sit across you, you check a few boxes. You have the language, the articulation, the presentation, right? We've had our governor and a few leaders who've gone in based majorly on even their appearance. And I know you are a man who stands on integrity, you know. Do you see yourself running
Wendy,
for a political seat? Because the practical thing is, you and I cannot keep having podcasts and conversations and conferences where we're talking about leadership, but when we come to the implementation and saying, okay, fine, let's be part of
the
yes. Are you running? Will you
Wendy,
run?
all the qualities you've seen in me, I've seen in you. Every quality, I have to pounce that question on you too. Yeah, I have to pounce, but I've raised the fears before. We were having this conversation before, and when you say we might have the qualities too. In fact, sometimes I see leadership in the larger perspective in how things are run in our country, and I say I might have the heart for it, but who knows? Um, I also like, it's you see the feel from outside, looking in. You're like, I'm not ready for all that commotion that takes place, chaos that takes place in
What
politics.
makes you fear this space? Let's highlight some of those things.
Okay, for example, you've seen leaders who we trusted before. I'm not saying they're not good leaders in
No,
the
say,
political scene.
speak up. Say the way it is. They're bad.
Thank God, right now I've not had any kidnapping. So, I'm not saying that they are not good leaders. I've seen some MPs performing on their certain constituency. We've seen leaders who have stood and are working. You see, but hearing their story. The other day I was listening to a podcast. I was listening to one leader I follow closely. He was saying if he knew this was politics, he will not vie for that seat. Me as a young person looking potentially to enter the same scene, I'm like, oh, okay. So I must count my costs. You see.
Yeah.
So it's something that you have to count the cost to enter such kind of a field. You have to count the cost. Have to count the cost, and you have to have certain backings. Another thing I've seen in our political scene, there's not enough mentorship of good leaders because it's a greedy space. It's hard to see a good leader raising a person of integrity who sees there's potential in them to lead. You just have to make your space. You make room for
I was
yourself.
actually coming to that. Part of what I wanted to ask you. Good thing you've brought it up. Mentorship is a key thing, Wesley. Mentorship is a fundamental part of movement in any facet of life. But are young people willing to, number one, count their costs in terms of getting mentorship, right? In terms of building value to have access to certain spaces and people? Are we interested? Are young people willing to seek mentorship? And number two, to tie it back to what you were saying, are the mentors willing to genuinely, truly guide in light and in correct spaces?
All right. Personally, from what I've seen, from how I run, I've been part of Mentor Me Global for a minute. I've seen young people are willing. They can count the cost. I remember one time we were doing an activity, conference like activity with Okanda. He was doing something on leadership, Salt, I think it was Salt. And I saw young people coming from Kisumu to attend that event. Young people coming from different parts of this country doing to attend that event. And we were hosting it at Mount Kenya University. And I saw the hunger. I saw like there are true people who really want to take part in mentorship. They want they have the why they want to do it. Now they want the how. How do I take part in this? How do I take part in this? But there are no systems enough to cater for that hunger, because we see us who are coming up in this mentorship space, we are doing it out of our own volition because we've seen the gap.
Yeah.
The reason why I ran the program, Mentor Me program in different parts of this city, is because I've seen the space, I've seen the gap. There's no one who's willing to answer that cry of we are willing, but show us how. So sometimes we do these spaces. We have to take guests from different places, take mentors from different, and bring them in this program, telling them that these young people have a hunger in them. They just want to know how. Show them how. And there are not sufficient mentors who will
Taking up
there are not
the
sufficient
mantle.
mentors who can sacrifice, because one thing about this audience you're talking about, they're not a well-funded audience. If you've done events in Kenya or in Nairobi, you know that one demographic that people are not willing to put the money in is in young people, because they don't see ROI, they don't see return on investment. They're saying yes, you're doing an event, but it where's my money back? You get it? What's my value for money
Yeah.
sponsoring such individuals or at that age bracket? We need more people to see the potential in the young, because as the question is, I know you're running a business, but who will cater the cost to raise the future of the nation, if not you individuals? So there are gaps. We have gaps in mentors who are willing to create time for young individuals to come up, to mentor them and work with them. Secondly, there's no enough institutional funding to run such programs, to mentor individuals, to mentor the young people in such spaces. We've done events out of our own pockets costing thousands of shillings. You get it? Because who's willing to sponsor? I've been in these offices, major offices in Nairobi, doing events, and they're asking, you've said who is attending the event at the campus? We say 50% of them are campus. They're like,
Take a step back.
we'll talk tomorrow. You get it? Like, and that's the equation of things right now in this space. Yeah.
And it's actually sad.
Yeah.
Talking of we have a funding going around. Our president is empowering, all right, young people. How sustainable is that? Because you're giving capital for people to set base for businesses. But we have an economy that is crippling and is not able to have consumers, right? So the government, the president, is giving people some funding to go start businesses. But the truth is, the bigger scope of it, which is now the consumers, they don't have the capacity and the capability to consume from these small businesses that are there. How sustainable is the Wezo funding and what our president is doing?
Okay. Wendy, even before we go to the consumer part, I think we are funding an illusion. You're funding, you're dishing out money to people who are not even trained to use the same money. It's like I'm funding ignorance. Like even when you're going to apply for funding in any institution, you have to have objectives, you have to have the vision, you have to have the key performing indexes that your organization is willing to tackle. Right now, you're dishing out money to a population that wants to use the money for their own consumer benefit. It's like giving me a loan, I don't know, and I just need money to eat. You get it? Giving me a loan, my basic needs are not met. I'm not saying that there's a part of that of the population of the young people that are not equipped enough to get funding to do things that are going to transform society. But I'm saying we are not equipped. Major part of our youth population are not equipped to even, you don't even qualify, and are not equipped to be funded, because what are you funding? I think we should use funding, major part of our funding, what the president is doing right now, to equip the young people. because you're leaving them in more debt. You're just finding hot air because they have no clear stated objective on what you're funding them to be or to do. Right now, in fact, that money should be routed to programs like what you're doing or what we're doing to equip young people.
Where there are structures already.
Where there are structures already, where there's a clear objective of what we're doing. And in fact, the president once said, I remember he had a good thing when he began his presidency about not subsidizing the food. Let's subsidize fertilizers so that we are tackling value chain so that the production can be less expensive. Obviously, the consumer the products will be less expensive. Right now, we are trying to subsidize in this funding, this analogy. We are trying to feed young people money without clear state objectives. Fund the programs that are going to equip young people. Fund systems. Fund structure. Young structure that are set to equip them so that they can add value in fact when they are going to or set embargoes. Say you have to have a certain level of certification to get certain level of funds, seeing that you've been trained in this and that and that. What is your objective? What purpose are you borrowing the money for? Do we see proof of concept? You get it? But right now, I think the major thing the president needs to fund is organization that deal with mentorship. Mentor these young people to be a solution.
Yeah.
Rather than throwing funds to businesses that are going to die in
They're
3
not
months.
sustainable.
They're not sustainable.
Amazing that we mentioned that. And I feel it is a misplaced priority. Wesley, that last week, I saw it in the news, we lost about 10B.
Yeah, I saw that.
In the education system.
I see that.
10B. I want you to take a moment and really think about 10 billion. That there are non-existent schools that have been receiving capitation. Wesley, non-existent schools. And do you know what that translates in the bigger picture is when we even come to elections, right? Those are quote unquote polling stations that will chime in numbers of votes which are non-existent.
That's true.
All right. So I want to tie it to a thought you've brought. When we began the conversation, you said that there's a big gap even in our education system in what it teaches us, right? So now we are funding businesses. And if we look at, because every year people are coming out of the education system into the market. And right now we have in the tune of millions of young people who are unemployed. And we are going to have a youth bulge. And for me, I think it's a ticking time bomb, really, because it will get to a place where we will only have ourselves to eat and we will go back to the streets, and it is bound to happen. So the corruption cases are over the roof. It is SHA in billions. It is our education system in billions. We even had the rollout of the CBC. And I had somewhere in a conversation that, do you know, individuals who are being trained to be teachers are still being trained with the 844 implementation. But they are being trained to come and execute in the CBC system.
I see that. I see there's a huge discrepancies in our system. That's what I'm saying. The rise and fall of anything begins with its leadership. If you're looking for the perpetrators of such kind of a claim that 10 billion was lost, it's not far. It's just within that department, because people are forming structures by which they can lure more money into their pockets. So you'll find that the problem lies in our leadership. The problem lies in the kind of people we elect. That's why it all routes back to leadership. Like the person you put in office. We don't see stern actions being taken against corruption. How do we expect then corruptions to fade? The other day, a governor was found with millions of shillings in his car, in his house. Nothing until now. Have you seen any action being taken?
No action.
When such individuals are met, they're saying, "Oh, it's my political enemies that are trying to downfall me." The same story, the same dialogue. It will take a certain heart of a heart in the same actions we took in the revolution, but with more meaning and purpose and structure. to keep this, to keep the gains. The other day I was in our neighboring country. Even though Kenya we are bad, you're not that bad. I was in our neighboring country, just beside where our president has stayed in power for long. I was in that country and I was seeing, the young people are fed up. I have a lot of friends from that country. The young people are fed up. But you see how a dictatorship system works is that voices are suppressed. Secondly, you see that a slogan like protecting the gains was one of the key political slogans the main party was using. I was asking the young people there, what are the gains? Because I can walk through your city and see even the least city in our country is still better. The key things you're talking about in this country, in fact, I saw we can riot all we want, but you can see the benefits of democracy in this country compared to other parts of Africa. It's a political issue across the whole. If you're talking about Kenya, you're not talking about Kenya politically. You're talking about what is affecting young people across the continent. Because governorship in Africa is something.
Yeah.
How many uprisings have you seen in the West African in the last like 5 years? It's no election. It's a toppling of one government. If you want to enter government, you topple another government. And when you mirror that to what is happening in this country, should we if we want good governance, should it reach a place where we have to topple a government?
It shouldn't get to, ideally it shouldn't
Ideally,
get
should not get to that point because
yeah.
because you see a lot of funds being embezzled, and now you wonder to what point do we start tackling, because right now even the funds you're talking about that are given to youths, that's just being used as a political instrument.
Yeah.
Because the election are nearing. So government funding, government money is being used as a political instrument. Then they
And it's a loan.
Mhm.
Do you know it was partially, it is, let me tell you, young people, and I hope such incentives will not simmer down the fire that you are talking about, because part of that funding is a grant, part of it is a loan that we will have to repay.
Yeah.
And if you have a 360 view of it, Wesley, you took out a loan to open a business that was not sustainable, right? It leaves you in more debt. It actually leaves you in more debt. So the question is, are we even being empowered?
No, we're not empowered. You can just see what's happening, and you can know. A solitary mind will know what's happening. Because when the state of a nation disturbs a solitary mind, there's something wrong. When you see what's happening, we take that fund for example. I'm taking a loan. Okay, the money is readily available. You don't have to have qualification. I don't know if there's qualifications. I'm not read deep into that fund, but the money is available for me to take it. It's like what they did with the Hustler Fund. With just key of a button. Simple things like when you look at the hierarchy of needs, simple things like me feeding is a problem. Will I use the money to start a business?
How?
Or will I use the money to cater for my fees? Will I use the money to?
Yeah.
Then I'll begin the chess of you should pay, but like what people have done with Hustler Fund right now. I remember when it was rolling out, people were saying, this is the government giving us our own money back, so I don't think I should.
Why should we pay?
Why should we pay? So you see people using that as a source of gratifying themselves and saying, to appease themselves.
Yeah.
It's a fund. They steal our money from us. This is how we get it back.
Yeah. Kama serikali kona deni, who am I not to have deni? So
Exactly.
yeah, come and take me then, because I don't have the potential to pay you.
Exactly.
Wesley, all this heavily falls on ethics, right? And I'll bring you back to the program that you run. What are some of the competencies that you feel should be instilled at an early age when we are preparing young people to get into the market space, right? And even other spaces of leadership? Because a couple of things we've highlighted here, integrity, embezzlement, all that squarely lies on some competencies in integrity to start off. What are some of those things that you think we need to instill in young people?
It won't be a complete conversation if you don't talk about the solutions we base in this society, because yes, we know every society has their own vices, and but we still have to live in them, and we still have to see how we can make the societies better. So one of the key things we do we run a program called Mentor Me Global. One of the key things we do is to empower young people. And sometimes it disturbs me because I usually tell them numbers with times without number. These are the things you ought to have been raised with in your own household. It should stem from that place of parenting. In fact, we once I had this conversation on my platform about this. For example, our organization stands on three. We stand on three P's: purpose, passions, and potentials. We see this as the foundation, as the foundation of every individual. We talk about how I had this conversation, and we talk about how let's not even get into the schools we go to. Let's talk about how we were parented. Were we nurtured enough to know our purpose, to cultivate our passions, and to live out to our potentials? As in the ideal parent should be able to see in their child what's their purpose is, what's their passions, and their potentials, and start cultivating that from that place. But we were thrown, then immediately you start working, immediately you start talking, you are thrown into a system that feeds you on what they want you to be, not who you should be. Because the root word education is from the Latin word educare, to mold from within to without. But the systems that be are not really gearing towards to mold, because there are people in wrong professions because that's what they could afford to pay for in learning. There are people who have the potentials to do greatest things in society, great impact in different fields: technology, in the field of leadership, in the field of in the economy. But you see them in the wrong profession, and it brings a frustration in them, because I've seen this frustration. I've seen this frustration in young people where they're in campus. Thank God I did people in campus also. They're in campus and they're doing a course because the parent wants them to do. Because that's what the parent does. That's what you should do. You get it? Not who they are. So our platform like this, where we build a platform like this, is to make young people be a little divergent. You don't have to follow the normal norm. We begin with the root cause of things, the foundations of things. Foundations are the most important part of a structure. So we begin with the foundations of things, and we can root them on these three things: purpose, passions, and potentials. Young people have the potentials to do great things, but there's no cultivation. We are having this conversation with 20-year-olds, a conversation they should have had 10 years back. When you look at we look at our sports. Thank God I was having this conversation yesterday after HSBC, our rugby team was playing. I'm a huge fan of rugby. So I was having this conversation with them. They recently restructured the rugby HSBC. So we were having this conversation about Kenya as a team and the facilities we have that in sports development. You can't compare Kenya with the United States in terms of sport development. These guys began playing when they immediately they started holding the ball. They began playing. They were thrown into swimming classes. They were thrown in different classes to cultivate their potentials early, in ballet, in different classes. This young man began playing in high school, and even in that high school, I remember I began playing rugby in high school. I was struggling because even in that institution where I was learning, we didn't have enough time for sports. But so if you choose sports, it's at the cost of education. Why people are studying is when you're gaming. You get it? So it begins with those foundational things, like, do we have enough structure? Parenting is a structure by which we cultivate potential in young individuals. Our school system is a structure, but we have now, at least I'm saying they're trying to implement CBC because they also saw the problem. But it's not an enough system to cultivate potential in young hearts. That's why more young people should enter into these spaces where they see problems in the society, and try and fill the gaps in different sectors. We saw a problem in mentorship where we have to cultivate these young people, though yes, it's late, but we can still do something.
We try and salvage where we can.
Yeah, where we can. And I think if we continue with such kind of a trajectory, and we get more support and structure from the institutions, even if they don't give us support, we will still continue finding ways we can mentor young people, and giving them a sense of purpose, and giving them a platform where they can discover their passions, and at least at last they can live out their potentials. Deeper than being a teacher, you have something in you can do. Deeper than the course you're doing, there's more. You're not defined. It's not a course to define you. It's you to define yourself by seeing the kind of abilities you carry inside. So I think mentorship as a in this space of mentorship, we have great potentials to solve a lot of issues in the hearts of young people.
Great blueprint there. Honestly, I've never thought about it from that dimension of parenting, because as you were explaining, I was looking at it from the, the family is the basic unit
Basic
of
unit.
existence.
Even I think even sorry for cutting you. Even our leadership problem begins in the family setup.
Yeah. But if you really think about it and give it thought, the scarcity begins there. We are born into survival. So we are not, your parent is not looking at what is your purpose. All right, because they don't even have the time, energy, nor the resources to start saying Wendy is a good public speaker. Because for me, public speaking it's innate for me. What if my parents started me out when I was in kindergarten? I'm telling you, I would have been a global,
on world spaces.
all right,
World
but
spaces.
just what you said when you started the conversation, as a kid, you're talking under what capacity? Can you chill first? Right? So great blueprint. But of course, there are barriers. You mentor these students in campus and then we release them into the space of execution. What barriers are they bound to meet up with, Wesley?
That's a great question, Wendy. There are many barriers. So when you're having this conversation in a third world country, I don't know why they call us third world, but let me use that term for now. When you're having this conversation in a third world country, that's something, because I'm in the technology space and I read a lot of research and paperwork. You'll find that okay, there's a lot of things running in my mind. You'll find that execution in a country like this is tough. It's tough. If you see a person who has made it out, has really made a name for themselves in terms of creativity, in terms of innovation, the battles they have gone through to be there. We have institutional problems, institutional barriers. It's not easy to get funding in such a country. Only few people, you can only mention few names here and there, people who have truly made it, because and how they made it, even the funding did not come from within our institutions. They came from outside our institutions. You get it? So you'll find that it's institutional. Like you'll need a strong arm to really set your own space and place in society if you really want to make change. So I think the barrier of execution is in our institutions. In terms of, we don't have, even it's not even only in funding, it's in policy. It's in policy, because right now a young person trying to register a company, how much will it cost a young person?
Yeah.
He's starting with zero capital. A young person who wants to do something, and you're trying to register something, maybe a CBO, maybe something, you go to these offices, you'll find that the institutional friction, whereby they want you to do this, do that for them, for you to get your papers, or you can start applying for something to take a long, anything that deals with the government is stress. So secondly, there are barriers, but they're not limitations, because we who are still in these spaces are here because we know that it's possible. It's possible. Yes, you might have quite friction because of the barriers that are there, but it's possible to break through. So you'll find that it's overwhelming though, because you won't find enough. You won't find enough people in that space, because their dreams were choked. Their dreams were choked. Then there are not enough mentors. Mentors in this space, I'm talking about men who are willing to lay a hand. They see potential in this individual, are willing to give a hand to such kind of a person, and say, I will show you how it's done,
I will
because
hold your hand
they've
and
truly
open
seen
doors.
potential in them. So us as a program, you're trying to bridge that gap. You're trying to show young people that yes, our institution might have an issue, but we want to fill this gap. That's why we call it Mentor Me program. Mentor Me, we coin the word Mentor Me because it's either audible or inaudible cry in the hearts of young people to be mentored. Sometimes not everyone knows that they need mentorship, but you see them struggling in a certain area, and you've been through that. If only an advisor to, or holding the hand and introducing them to certain people, will ease their stress a million times over
Mhm.
because they won't have to go through the same struggle you went through.
Yeah.
So Mentor Me is really a cry in the hearts of people to be mentored. So you see that that space is where young people have to be mentored, have to be held, their hands held to be helped.
Mhm.
Our institutional barriers, hopefully, as the country goes forward, we hope that our governance will be better.
Yeah.
Policies will be easier for young people to make it in this space, and also such institutions where we mentor people will get more light and be funded because we are doing a noble thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was in a space the other day, and someone said, you see, the reason why we are a third world country because we have 3 dimensions of success, and that's the perception that has been sold to us. In Kenya, Wesley, let me even talk about it from a girl's perspective. Either uko na sponsor, there's someone funding your life, and we're not talking about sponsorship, the one you're saying. You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying,
I'm
and
getting.
I'm sure you speak up Africa again, you understand. Either you're sponsored, all right, or you're corrupt. People want to get into government to steal. That now it is my time to create generational wealth.
A retirement scheme for that matter.
Yes. And now you're crooked, you know. The perception of success has been strongly tied to unethical things. Or now the list that comes at the last of the list is you must have very strong willpower to push through the barriers and say, as Wendy, I'm going to be a podcaster. I will mentor people. I will write books and sell them. I will go back to school and get an education. I've gone back to school to do my master's. Wesley, someone was telling me, why? You understand, Wesley? Why? Why are you struggling? There's money out here. But you see, the perception that has been sold to the African youth is shortcuts are the way to get to where you want to go. And slowly by slowly, the 2-degree element of deviation, people are deviating from ethics and proper structures that will help us go. And again, we continue being grateful for spaces like Mentor Me. As we crown this conversation, Wesley, because I think we've opened very many tabs that will take us
It
a
will take us
long
a
while to
long
even
while.
start saying
Long
now
while.
these are our solutions. Wesley, in Kenya, in Africa, if we fail to put structures for young people, what is that future looking like for us?
Okay. One thing about okay, let me begin with the tail end of your conversation. If we fail to build structures, one thing I'm certain, Wendy, is we are not badly off. We're not badly off. As long as I can see people like you and I in society, we're not badly off. It only takes some few individuals to change the system. I believe that the future is bright for the young individuals in Africa. The future is bright because they say in the next 20, 30 years, Africa will have the youngest population, and the major labor force will come from Africa. Biggest consumers will come from Africa. So I don't want to be pessimistic about the state of our future as young people. I believe one way or another, if the government doesn't do it, we will do it. We will create our own structures. We will do our own. We'll run our parallel teams different from what the government chooses to do. Because if leaderships if we look upon our system, we can't. The government is not our solution. As young people, we should shift our mindset, thinking that the government will help us in anything.
Wesley, I want you to really say that again.
Yeah.
Please look into your camera and say that again.
Yeah, young people should know that the government is not our solution. Yes, we need good governance, but if they don't do it, we will do it. The government is not our solution. And I think this conversation is vital in such a society where young men are raised to have jobs. When this regime began, I remember the deputy president, they recently ousted. He went to he went to KU, a graduation ceremony, and told them bluntly that we don't have jobs for you. I don't know why they went in social media and started blasting. People don't know how to take the truth.
He was being honest.
He was just being genuinely honest. He's being from the position he was seated. He was telling the young people the truth. how many graduates, how many graduates are we churning out from our institution? And I think a sustainable education system should churn out job creators rather than job seekers.
Yeah.
But we see job seekers more churned out the more. So the government is not our solution. So how the future looks like for young people should be more audacious. Young people should be more visionary. Young people should not look at systems as solutions for their own problems. We should create parallel systems that, okay, another thing, young people should not be greedy. We don't create businesses so that it can only fund our lifestyles. We create
For
businesses
profit.
yeah, don't only create the business for profit, but to see transformation in society, to see other young people lifted. If we approach business from that angle, if we approach everything we're doing from that angle because we want to see a betterment of our society, I think we will be fine. So young people should really change. There should be a paradigm shift on how we do things, how we think. Our mindset should shift. The way you are saying that drill success, we only think success can come out of shoddy things. We should shift.
Yeah.
There are clear pathways where we can be successful without tarnishing our names, upholding integrity. So let's shift our mindset to be solution based. Let's shift our mindset from thinking the government bears our future. Our future is not in the government, but we really need good governance. That won't stop you from voting in our next elections. Have that voters card and elect the future you want to see in this country, but also be visionary, also be a problem solver in society. What we are doing, for example, what we are doing in this podcast is so important. But who taught you to do podcasts in your education system?
Nobody.
Was there any cost to do what you're doing?
None. Actually, it was a need, because my dream was always TV.
Exactly.
My dream was TV. When I got to high school, that's when I realized, wow, I have a voice and I have a thing for people and I have leadership. So the best way for me to create awareness, let me say that, was going to media. That was my element of contributing. But by the time I was getting to mainstream media, we had shifted.
We had shifted
People
totally.
had gone to the digital space. So I never got to be a top anchor the way I had wanted to. But again, it lies squarely in what you're saying. I needed to now be innovative, because I would have chosen to go back home and say, oh, so what happens?
There's no space for
media, there's
you.
no space. Mainstream media is dying. And that's the thing, young people. You need to, I like what you've said, life will only meet you at your level of audacity. You need to be audacious, and you need to constantly be thinking and saying, so what can I do? What is the solution to my problem?
Yeah, that's
And
true.
that's how I pivoted. And now I came into podcasting.
And you see, and I think this is part of the change we need in our society. Change we need to take, the change that needs to take place inside the young people's hearts.
Yeah.
That there may not be room for you in the thing you think must be. For example, mainstream media, but you create your own space to see the impact you need to see in the society.
Yeah.
Like what we are doing is also something revolutionizing, because such kind of content needs to get out there. Young
Yeah.
people need to think differently. Young
Yeah.
people need to be more audacious. Young people need to start their own things that will really start creating the change. One thing, okay, one as a founder, you know this. As a founder, one of the most one of the most, what do you know, disappointing, or how will I call it? I don't know which term to use it. Is when you begin, you're too much psyched up. But if you are a one-time or two-time founder, most of two-time founders will realize that it's a long game. Starting your own thing is a long game. You might not see the profits now, but with time, you begin doing what you want to do. You might not start big, you might not start with everything you need, but begin. It gives you a foundation, and you build upon it brick by brick, brick by brick. Don't stop. Just gain the momentum to do it. So one thing about young
Keep at
people,
it.
the entrepreneurial spirit needs resilience. I see that's not taught also. Resilience is not taught in our systems. Even in parenting, I see resilience is not taught. So one thing we need is resilience. We are young people. We can come together, do something that will transform our society, but we need resilience, because it's a long game. I begin something, I need to stay at it. I might fail, I rise up again and say it. As long as I have my vision clear, we keep on staying at it. We need that resilience to keep going on, keeping on. So one key takeaways you should have is, yes, you might begin. We want young people to be out there, even now in our political scenes. You might begin as a small leader in the campus. You might begin as a small leader in different spaces, but you need resilience to see it through. So I think that's one value we should embrace: resilience.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wesley, I'm definitely having you back here because we've barely scratched we've highlighted a few things.
Mhm.
And so we are having you back here
Oh.
to now give sort of practical steps into solutions. I am a firm believer of we are a product of our environments.
Mhm.
And there's a great initiative that you have that is called Mentor Me.
Mhm.
As you give us your closing remarks, how do we then contribute to Mentor Me? Because we were talking off camera and we were saying, what is the sustainability of even having such conferences and forums? Yes, we have the willpower, we have the purpose, but we then don't have the fuel, all right, to keep us going. And I know that is such a struggle, especially when you're transitioning from dealing with campus people and now starting to engage entry level kind of people at the job market. It's tough. So there's probably someone out there who wants to contribute to Mentor Me, inject financially, give you proper structures, give you connections. How do we engage you? Where do we find you? And you
Okay.
can give us your closing remarks.
All right, thank you, Wendy. Firstly, where you find me, you can find me on Instagram at Abor Wesley, or all my platforms at Abor Wesley. Abor Wesley.
Please spell that. There's the
At Abor, Abur, then Wesley, Wesley.
Okay.
Abor Wesley. You can find me at any of my social media platforms. Secondly, I think one way you can okay, not only giving to Mentor Me, is one thing we as an organization are looking up towards, or one of our key success index is seeing young people come up with their own initiatives, because the heart of the society is when we are 8 billion, more than 8 billion people in this world. That's 8 billion problems. So I once say that if each person can just choose to tackle a problem, the society will be a better place. So we are gearing towards being more problem solvers. Problem might not be as big as you might think. In Africa, we have a lot of problems.
Yeah.
When do we have a lot of problems? I was on a street coming here. I was doing some certain field work, and I was going through the street, and I was not even a single bin where I could dispose something I was
Yeah.
carrying. I walk a kilometer and I'm not seeing a bin. You get it? Problems are not as big as you think, is it? It is. It's not as big. I look. Who knew that a problem like planting trees could give Wangari Maathai a Nobel Peace Prize?
Yeah.
But it was a problem she was willing to solve, and she spent her life for it. She was jailed for it. She was abused for it. You get it? So I think young people should be more resilient in terms of how they want to live their life. So I one of the core values we talk about is being problem solvers. Look, it begins with how your daily life. Be a person who sees niches in society, a niche in society. Be a person who sees a gap in society and trying to fill that gap. That's how problem solving begins. When you build at it, in no time you'll see success will come out of it. So I think one key take, one my closing remark on this is um, success should be an index of the impact you give, not only the gains you make. Yeah.
Fantastic. Wesley, thank you so much for coming. And we definitely are going to have you back here
Thank you
again
for
and
having
again.
me. Thank you for having me.
Speak of Africa, thank you so much for listening in today. And there is a glimpse of hope when we have individuals like Wesley come up and say, the thing is to look at finding solutions to problems that one are around you. We cannot fix global problems if at the local level that you operate we cannot find solutions. And here at Speak Up Africa, we try to contribute in that cause by bringing conversations that continuously remain to inform, engage, and empower us. My name is Wendy Lois. I will love you and leave you for this one. I am seeing you on our next episode. For now, kwaheri.